I'm Monita Rajpal in Hong Kong. Welcome to News Stream, where news and technology meet. The mystery surrounding Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 is growing as a search for the missing plane is now in its third day. The wait for information is simply agonizing for the relatives of the 239 passengers and crew on board for Beijing. For Kuala Lumpur, air traffic controllers lost contact less than an hour after takeoff. Now, this is the flight's last known position before it disappeared off the radar. Crews have been scouring the South China Sea both day and night. They've paid particular attention to the Gulf of Thailand, as you see over here, but the area has provided false leads. Malaysia's state news agency reports tests on an oil slick found about 145 kilometers south of Tok Chu Island revealed it was not from the missing Malaysian jetliner. Recent focus has shifted to the Andaman Sea after radar data indicated the plane may have turned back to Kuala Lumpur. Well, let's bring in CNN's resident aviation expert, Richard Quest, and he has been following the story since it broke. He joins us now from CNN New York. Richard, again, we're heading into, this happened on Saturday. We're now in Monday, and it's still, there are no answers. How much of a question or importance is time in a situation like this?
Oh, it's very important, because not only will... Let's just take the individual parts that you normally see.
Richard, thank you very much. Richard Quest there live for us from New York. And we are waiting for a news conference in Kuala Lumpur that's being held by the Malaysian authorities. They've been holding these news conferences periodically over the last couple of days just to keep people abreast of what they know, which frankly is very little. That news conference is scheduled to take place any minute now. Of course, we'll take you there live as we get it. Now, the United States is one of 10 countries assisting in the search effort. Mary Schiavo is former Inspector General for the U.S. Transportation Department. She joins us now from our bureau in New York. Ms. Schiavo, thank you very much for being with us. Again, as we heard from our Richard Quest earlier, there's one of the questions you don't ask is what happened, because that's just simply perhaps is too simplistic or too much of a broad-ranging type of a question. As investigators start to at least search or scour the area, what are they looking for? What are the Americans doing in helping in this type of investigation?
Well, they're looking for wreckage. They will also, since the Navy is going to assist, they do have...
Thank you so much. Very difficult indeed. We really appreciate you speaking to us and your analysis and thoughts as well on this very increasingly worrying and sad story there. Mary Schiavo, the former Inspector General for the U.S. Transportation Department. Thank you again. We want to take you, though, now to Kuala Lumpur with that news conference we were telling you about earlier on being held by the Malaysian authorities. Let's take a listen.
Okay, can we start now? Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
They're just getting ready there to speak to news crews and to the media to give any updates and clarifications over any information that has been released over the last 24 hours or so. There had been some thoughts, well, some information that potentially a life raft that was seen in the South China Sea may have come from the airline, but that was quickly refuted by the Malaysian Civil Aviation authorities. As I said, they've been holding a news conference throughout the day here, periodically giving information, which really, as we know, isn't much right now. Richard Quest, again, joins us now from New York as we both keep an eye on this news conference. Again, Richard, this is more an idea, an image, I guess, to tell people that they are keeping an eye on what's happening and that there really isn't much for them to say.
Honorable Minister's press conference this afternoon on the oil slick that was found by the Maritime Enforcement Agency of Malaysia. They have sent the samples to the chemistry department.
We have
You've been listening to Malaysian civil aviation authorities. They're giving a couple of news lines out of this press conference right now. One of the news lines is that they are extending their area of search by a 100-kilometer radius. Again, of course, they've been searching the South China Sea, the Gulf of Thailand, as well as the Andaman Sea. They are extending their search by 100 kilometers right now to, again, they said in their determination they have to find this aircraft because that's the only way they will know what actually happened to this plane. Right now, they have no, there's been no sign of this aircraft. There was an oil slick that they had seen earlier on in the South China Sea, but they've determined that that's not from the aircraft. And earlier, Mary Schiavo, the former Inspector General for the U.S. Transportation Department, had said to us that what they would be looking for is jet fuel on the sea, which would be slick, which would show a sheen, a rainbow sheen on the sea that would give some determination that that would actually be from an aircraft. That would be jet fuel, not an oil slick. The other thing that they talked about was the two passengers who were having, who were said to have stolen passports. They said that the video footage from the time that they checked in and departures, well, they had apparently, according to the civil aviation authorities from Malaysia, said that they had gone through all security and complied with all security protocol that had been required by Malaysian authorities. But they did go on to say, again, this is very, information is very complicated and not very clear at all, but that they were not Asian-looking men. They had earlier said that that the people who had these stolen passports were Asian-looking, and now they are going back on that, saying that they were not Asian-looking men. Again, they're still looking into those two people. Those people who were carrying those two stolen passports. So lots of, a couple of lines here that have been coming out of this news conference right now. Malaysian authorities have made a plea to stop the spread of speculation while search crews work to find any answers. Jim Clancy joins us now from Kuala Lumpur. And Jim, of course, that's what people are doing right now because there is such shortage of answers or any clarification because family members are desperate to know what's happened to their loved ones, and that's all they can do right now, speculate.
Well, they can hope, they can pray. There's so many things that, you know, you imagine being in their situation with it, Monita.
All right, Jim, thank you. Jim Clancy there live for us from Kuala Lumpur. Well, as those families, all of those on board, wait for any answers, many people are wondering how this Boeing 777 could just vanish mid-flight with no word from the pilots. Our aviation correspondent, Renee Marsh, joins us now. Are there any more clues, any more answers to that, Renee?
Unfortunately, Monita, no. And that is what is so baffling. I mean, this is still considered one of the safest jets. Consider this, and it's 19 years.
And we heard there from the Malaysian civil aviation authorities, that's their priority right now. Find any information or anything, any debris from this plane to give them some clue. Renee, thank you very much for that. Well, as we've mentioned, at least two passengers on Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 had tickets purchased with stolen passports. Both passports were stolen in Thailand in the past 2 years, and both tickets were bought together in Thailand. Chief International Correspondent Christiane Amanpour spoke to Thai Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra about that.
Initially, we don't know about their nationality yet, but we gave orders for the police to investigate the passport user.
Well, the revelation that at least two passengers on that Malaysia Airlines plane were using stolen passports has raised some serious questions. Among them, how did they get on that flight without anyone checking their documents, and how often does that actually happen? Pamela Brown takes a closer look.
It's one of the biggest mysteries in the disappearance of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370.
Pamela Brown reporting there. The mysterious disappearance of this Malaysia Airlines flight is of major interest on our website. CNN security analyst Peter Bergen debunks several of the conspiracy theories that swirl after an airliner accident. And for easy reference, we've compiled facts about the search for Flight 370. You can find it all at CNN.com. Let's take a look at some of the other headlines that we are keeping our eye on this hour. A pathologist is giving details about the autopsy of Reva Steenkamp at Oscar Pistorius' murder trial. Still to come here on Newsstream, researchers say a new test could predict your chances of developing Alzheimer's disease. But would you want to know? Welcome back. We tend to think of robots as creations of the late 20th century, but 18th century watchmakers were creating sophisticated machines long before the advent of computers and algorithms. Nick Glass traveled to Philadelphia to see one. Welcome back to Newsstream. Researchers have developed a blood test that's showing promise in predicting Alzheimer's disease. The test measures levels of certain fats that appear to be associated with dementia and memory loss. Elizabeth Cohen reports.
There hasn't been a good way to predict who will get Alzheimer's disease.
And before we go, we want to recap our top story this hour. Authorities still do not know what happened to a Malaysian Airlines passenger jet missing for days now. Earlier this hour, we got an update on the search from transportation officials in Kuala Lumpur. Take a listen.
This on the east coast. This is Igari, and the area of search at the moment in the
Well, of course, they're saying they extended their area of search now. Let's go to Maya Ramos at the World Weather Center, where, of course, weather will play, I guess, a part in either hindering or helping the search efforts there, Mari.
Yeah, continue. You know, they're going to have good weather, and that's good news, definitely, for this search and rescue operation as they expand.
All right, Mari, thank you very much. And that is Newsstream. I'm Monita Rajpal. The news continues here at CNN. World Business Today is next.